Welcome back, aliens. My name is Navin Reddy, and let's continue with the series on Neo. Till this point, we have talked about what is Neo, we have seen the white paper of it, and we have also created a private network. So basically, whenever you want to deploy your smart contract, that's what we are going to do in this video. So basically, we'll build a smart contract. Of course, we'll not write a smart contract from scratch because we are still into the early phase, right? So it's good to start with an inbuilt example, and we'll also see how exactly a smart contract look like. We'll also deploy an application or deploy a smart contract. So that's the idea. Now in the previous video, we have done with the network setup. Basically, we have created a private network, and this is what we are going to do again, because maybe when you open your VS Code, you might have lost everything. So it's good to start from scratch. So let's say you got your VS Code from scratch. Make sure that you have this extension, which is the Neo N3 visual div tracker, and once you have it, we can get started. So the first thing we do is we create a private blockchain. So just to reiterate what we're going to do in this video, the first thing we'll do is we'll create a private blockchain. We'll try to build a smart contract, and we'll also deploy it. So let's start with the private blockchain. So it's very simple actually. You can just go to N3, and then you can see we have an option of blockchains here, and as of now we do have mainnet, we do have testnet, but we don't have a private blockchain. So what we are going to do, so you can see when you go down here, which is a quick start, just click on this create a new Neo Express instance, click on that, and it will ask you for the number of nodes you need. So of course, for the trial basis or for learning purpose, we can go with 1. Click on that, it will ask you for a name. So we'll say this is private network, or we can say private net create, and you can see it will create a private network for you. Now where you will find it, so let me just go back here. So you can see we have an option which is private net, and this is get started. We don't need this. So once we got our private blockchain, we can see we have an option of exploring the blocks, and you can see we have multiple blocks created. As of now, we don't have any transactions in them because we are not doing anything, right? And if you don't want to see all the blocks, you can click on hide and everything works. Now what next? We got our private blockchain. We got the wallet as well, and we have not talked about the wallet yet. We'll talk about it in some time. Then we have our smart contracts. Now these smart contracts are inbuilt smart contracts which are already deployed. So our idea here is to create or to build a smart contract and deploy it so that we can call it. So basically you should be able to invoke your smart contracts. Now what is smart contract in general? Say in the blockchain, or maybe you can imagine the internet, you have so many applications, right? You have Facebook, Instagram, you have banking applications, you have e-commerce website. So what we do there is we do some operations. Example, if you want to buy something, you order a product, then you receive a product, right? You make a payment as well. This is conditions. This is what you say actions, right? Let's say the moment you receive your product, there should be a deduction of money. That's a smart contract. So something is happening because of something, right? So you met a condition and you do that. So that is what is called a smart contract because it's happening automatically. And to achieve that, you have to write a code. Now, which language you will prefer? Of course, we have talked about it. We are going to work for C#, but you can use any language you want. And we'll see that in this video, what type of language it supports and how the code looks like. Now, see, whenever you do a transaction in the public blockchain specifically, and Neo is a public blockchain, every time you do a transaction, you have to pay a transaction fee. Now this transaction can be anything. Example, you say you own this particular asset and now you want to transfer this asset to someone else. That's one transaction. Maybe you want to send a currency. Maybe you want to transfer 100 Neos. In that case as well, that's a transaction, right? So whatever you do, that is a part of a transaction. So here as well, when you do a transaction, it will charge you for a transfer fee. And we have seen that, right? If you want to hold coins, that's your Neos. But if you want to do a transaction and that fee, you can give that fee with the help of gas coins. So the question is, who will hold these coins, Neo coins and gas coins? And this is where you need people, right? Of course, you need people who will hold those coins. Now, in this case, we don't have any individuals or people in the network, but we can create those things, right? We can create accounts or we can create wallets. Now, what is a wallet? So if you want to keep money, as an example, whatever application you're using, maybe if you're using Google Pay or any specific application in your country to hold currency, that's your wallet, right? Or maybe you can imagine a physical wallet where you keep your money. But in the world of blockchain, wallet is not somewhere you keep money. Wallet is something where you keep your private address. So here we use wallet to keep our private address, not money, right? And this is one of the wallet you get by default. So when you click on the Genesis wallet here, and this is what it shows. So Genesis is the default wallet which you get, and it has some neos and some gas. It is not visible as of now, but once we do a transaction, you can see the number of neos it holds. Now, how many neos it holds? It holds exactly 100 million neos. Right? But don't worry, we are into private network, and whatever neos you get here, you can't encash it. Just a dummy currency you get. So basically, you get some neos, you get some gas, but that's also in the Genesis block or Genesis wallet. What we want to create here, we want to get 2 accounts which will hold those things. So even before we write a smart contract, the first thing we need in your machine is 2 accounts. Okay, not exactly 2 accounts. You can use multiple accounts or 1 account, but just for example, we'll go for 2 accounts. Now, how do we create a wallet? It's very simple. You can just right click on your blockchain and you can see there's an option of create wallet, or you can click on these 3 dots and you can say create wallet. But this looks like a good way. So you can right click on your blockchain and say create wallet. It will ask you for a wallet name. And of course, I'm creating a wallet for myself. So I will say Naveen. I will say enter. And the next thing it will do is it will create a wallet for you. And you can see down there, we got a notification that the wallet is created. Now, one thing to remember, as I mentioned before, in the wallet, you will not be keeping your currency, right? Of course, it will show the currency, but it does not hold the currency there. It only holds the private key, and the private key is visible. It's not encrypted. So when you use private network, it will not encrypt it, and that's not a good way, right? So that's what the message you get here. So the message says the private keys for accounts in a wallet are not encrypted. Do not use this account on mainnet. Mainnet is a main Neo network, so don't do these things on the network. Okay, let me just close that. And if you go back to Naveen, you can see we got Naveen as an account, of course, the private address. And as of now, I don't have any Neo. I don't have any gas coins as well. Okay, that's one. I want to get one more account, one more wallet. So I will right click and I will say create wallet. And this time I will say Kiran, enter. And we got one more wallet here. So in total, we got 2 wallets. Let me just see that. Yeah, we got 2 wallets. One is Naveen and second is Kiran. Done. And both are poor. We don't have any coins as of now. But then if I want to do any transaction, we need to make sure that we have coins with us, right? So how do we make sure that we have some coins? Okay, so from where you will get the coins? As I mentioned before, remember? In the Genesis wallet, you have 100 million neos, and you can't see that either. You will see that in some time. So can we do this? Can we transfer some neos from Genesis wallet to Naveen? It's possible. Let me show you how do we do that. In order to achieve that, you can just right click on your blockchain. There's an option of transfer asset. Now this is an important word here, which is asset. See, in the world of blockchain, anything which can be transferred is an asset. You can represent that with the help of currencies. You can represent that with the help of physical asset. Example, let's say this is a physical asset, right? And then I want to represent this in the virtual world. So what you can do is you can create a digital asset of this. So in physical world, when you transfer this asset to someone, you can transfer that on the blockchain as well. And that's how you keep the records. So here we can just transfer the assets from one person to other person. So in this case, we are transferring neos from Genesis wallet to Naveen wallet. So you can click on transfer asset. It will mention what you want to transfer. And just now we talked about any asset, right? But by default, we get 2 assets here, which is Neo and gas, that is pre-programmed. But if you want to get your own asset, you can do that. So as of now, we are clicking on Neo because we want to transfer Neo from, we have to also mention the amount of Neos you want to transfer. I know what you're thinking about. You want all the money, right? No, we'll do 1,000 Neos at a time. So let's go for 1,000 Neos. And you want to transfer this from Genesis to Naveen. And you can say that's one transaction. It's completed. How do we verify that? Go back to Naveen. And if I scroll down, let's refresh. Can you see that? We got 1,000 Neos. It's that simple. How many Neos are there with Genesis? Not 0 exactly. If I refresh, you can see that we got this number, which is 100 billion minus 1,000, right? And then it also holds a gas, which is a good number. Let's not count the amount of gas it has, but this is a good number. Now the thing is, if you go back to Naveen, Naveen does not have any gas. You can see we have 0. Same goes for Kiran, here we got 0. But if you wait for enough amount of time, Naveen will get some gas. How? For free? Exactly. So the Neo blockchain, whenever you hold Neos, it basically gives you, it will generate gas for you. That's a reward you get. But then we don't want to wait, right? I also want to transfer some gas from Genesis to Naveen. So we'll do that, but we also want to transfer some asset from Genesis to Kiran. Or maybe I can transfer. I have 1,000 news. I want to transfer 300. We can do that. Right click, transfer asset. I want to transfer Neo. How many? 300 from Naveen to Kiran. And let's verify. So let me verify from Naveen first. Oh, now that's the thing, right? We talked about this and I forgot to mention. It says insufficient gas in address. Remember, if Naveen is doing a transaction and Naveen is transferring some asset to Kiran, it will charge you some gas, and we don't have a gas as of now. So step 1 is to transfer the gas. Let's say I want to transfer 5,000 gas coins from Genesis to Naveen first. It will take 15-20 seconds to update. Let's refresh. Okay, still not there. Refresh. Okay, we got 5,000 gas, and now I can do the transaction which failed earlier. So now I want to transfer Neo, 300 Neos from Naveen to Kiran, and the transaction is submitted. It will take some time to refresh. You can see there's a deduction of a gas from Naveen. It's around 0.00. Okay, some number. Doesn't matter. It was reduction of some gas, and if I go back to Kiran and if I refresh, you can see we got 300 Neos. So that's how you transfer Neos, and that's how you transfer the gas as well. So further examples will not be using Kiran much. We'll only focus on Naveen. So Naveen has some Neo coins and some gas, and that is enough for us. So just to reiterate what we have done, we created 2 wallets apart from the Genesis wallet. And one more thing, you can't do all those things if your blockchain is in stop phase. Example, let's say if I stop this blockchain, you can see we don't see any information. We don't even see the wallet. So how do we start our blockchain? It's very simple. Either you click on this Start Neo Express. This quick start is very, very helpful. You can click on that, or you can right click on the blockchain and say Start Blockchain. Both works. So even after you refresh or restart your blockchain, you can still see the same amount, because of course that's the wallet, right? Cool. This is what we have talked about the wallet. So that's the step 2. So the first step was to create a private blockchain. The step 2 was to create a wallet. Now let's go for step 3. Now the step 3 is, it's very simple. You need to create a smart contract. Now, as I mentioned before, we're not writing this code from scratch because we are still into learning phase. We are learning so many things at the same time. There's one more thing before we go ahead. I forgot to mention about this block. Remember when we do transaction, every time we do a transaction, it becomes a part of a block. Now the thing is, for that particular 15-20 seconds, we were doing only one transaction. What if we do more transaction? That becomes a part here. So in each block, you can have more transactions, but since we only had one, you can see a number 1 here. And when you click on any of this transaction, it will show all the values, the Merkle root, the block hash, and you can get some more information when you click on this transaction ID. It will show from where you have done this to what person. Let's say if I click on Naveen, it will show the current wallet address, and it will show the balance as well. Yeah, this is what you get all the information. Great. Okay, so once we have done this, the next step is to create a smart contract. We'll not be doing that from scratch. So how do we create a smart contract? Now, remember the quick start, it's very, very helpful. So you can just go down. It will say, hey, you don't have a contract in your code. And nowhere you can see we got any contract, right? The code is, you have a blank code. I just created this new folder. If you have already created one, you can just stay with that. Let's go back here, and with the help of quick start, let me create a contract. It's very simple. Just click on this button. Now it will ask you for 3 options: C#, Java, or Python. That's a supported language for this particular toolkit. If you want to use some other language, there are other options as well. But as of now, these 3 languages are famous, we can use it. But what if you don't see an option here, which is create a new contract? You can actually right click on your blockchain, and there should be, okay, where is the option of creating a contract? Yeah, so you can just click on these 3 dots in the smart contract. It will ask you for the option of create contract, and you can select that. Otherwise, I will just simply click on create a new contract. Click on that. The next thing it will ask you for is a language name. So we have C#, Java, and Python option. Initially, we'll go for C#. Click on that. It will ask you for a contract name. So just to keep it simple, we can go with hello Telusko as a name. You can go with anything. They also give an example, which is token escrow. We can go with that. Otherwise, let's say hello Telusko, and click on enter. The moment you do that, it will take some time and it will create a contract. Now, this might create some issues for you. There might be some reasons. One is if you don't have a proper runtime. So first thing you need in your machine is a runtime, which is 5, .NET SDK 5. It should also work with 6, but for some reason it was not working for me. So you can try 5 and 6. If 6 is not working, .NET SDK 5. The next thing you will need is a compiler. This code is actually getting built. And to build that, we need a C# extension. You can just go to the extension tab and you can search for C# and make sure that you get the extension from the Microsoft, and you can see we got it here. So this is the extension from Microsoft, and done, we got the extension, right? The next thing you need is the compiler, specifically for Neo blockchain. Now to do that, we need to use our terminal. Maybe I can just say new terminal. And here you need to install your C# compiler. Now, once we got the extension, the next thing we need here is a compiler. So let's enter the command to achieve that. So basically you have to say .NET tool install -g, and you have to mention the compiler name, which is Neo compiler, C#, and done. So .NET tool install -g, neo.compiler.c#. Now, if this does not work, you just have to mention the version number as well. And it was working for me, and you can see it says already installed. Otherwise, if you want to mention the version number, you can say version. And I think the current version you can check on Google as well. You can go to their official website and you can check the current version. I think the current version should be 0.0.2 or maybe 0. It should also work. Now, since I already have in my machine, I can just go with clear, and that's done. Let me just close this particular shell and let's go with the original one. So done, we got our smart contract, right? So we have to install two things. The first one is the C# extension. The second one is the compiler. And now, if you go back to your file explorer, you can see there's an option of contract. So you can see a folder which is hello Telusko, in which if you expand, of course, you have different JSON files and a project file. If you expand src, and if you look at this contract, the extension is CS, which is for C#. And if I click on that, this is your smart contract. Okay, now what this smart contract says, of course, we don't want to go in depth of this code as of now because we are into the learning phase. We'll write this, we'll modify the smart contract, we'll write our own just to see how thing works out. But as of now, we have some metadata here. You can change your name here. You can say your name is Naveen. You can mention your author name, which is Naveen Reddy. You can mention your email ID and you can mention the description. Let's not waste our time there. And how do we create a contract? It's very simple. In C#, in Java, you use a class name. So you create a class and you mention a contract. And you don't have to build everything by yourself, right? You can use inbuilt classes or interfaces. You can see we have a smart contract here as a class. We'll inherit that. Now, every time you want to perform an operation, you do that with the help of a method, right? Or a function. So this is what we're doing here. You can see we have a change number. That's a function or a method you can call. We have deploy, get number, update contract, and you can call this methods. And that's when you say you invoke a contract. Cool. So this is your smart contract. We'll also update. Don't focus on the code as of now because the language might change in future. Maybe Java, maybe Python. As of now, we are focusing on the core idea of contract. Now, once you have this contract ready, we need to put this contract into a blockchain because this contract is not a part of a blockchain. Let's see if it is really there. Okay, it's there, but it's not deployed yet. So we'll deploy that. Don't worry. So we'll push this into the, let's verify. If I say invoke contract, okay, it's already there. Now, once you have your contract ready, it's time to deploy your contract. Now, what are the steps for that? It's very simple. First, you go to run or you go to terminal and there's an option of run build task and it's already done actually. Behind the scene, oh, it's done. We got our smart contract. It should also create object folder where you have all the object files, but that's fine. Okay. So step one, you need to build your smart contract. We have done that. And let's deploy this on the blockchain. So what is the process? It's very simple. Go to N3 and you can see it will say there's a contract in your Visual Studio Code workspace that is not currently deployed. And it will give you a prompt and so it's so helpful. See, if you don't have this toolkit, it will be always difficult to write this code from scratch and do everything from scratch. So click on deploy a contract. It will ask you for which blockchain you want to deploy this. I want to deploy that on private net. Click on that. Now it will say, okay, you're deploying your smart contract, but tell me from which account you want to do that. But why do we have to mention the account name here? Think about this. Or maybe you can use a comment section to answer. So the answer is there are two things. First, who is giving the sign to do that? Who is authorizing it? And second, who will pay the transaction fee? right? So you can say, okay, Navin is doing that. This is a smart contract and it will take some time to deploy and done. You can say it says deployed, awesome. It will also be available here. And now you can also invoke it. So you can say invoke, you can say it says invoke a contract. You can mention which contract, which blockchain you want to go for, private blockchain, and in the private blockchain, we have so many methods to do to invoke. But what we have done till this point is we created the wallet. Why do we need a wallet? Because that's where you save your private key. So different people will have a different private key. And of course, one person can have multiple private keys, but that's a different story. And next, you need to build your smart contract. You have to write it, you have to build it, and you have to deploy it. Now, till this point, we have talked about what is Neo. We have created a project, a simple project, and then because of the toolkit, we got the project as well. Now, in this project, we already have a smart contract, which you can see we have not seen the code exactly. But then now we are talking about invoking it. So basically, we have done with the build, we have done with the deployment, and now we have to invoke those smart contract. So let's explore this code a bit before invoking it. So what we are doing here is, if you can see, we have a very simple smart contract here, which is a hello Telusko contract. And whenever you have a class, whenever you want to define a smart contract in C#, you create a class and then you extend, or maybe you inherit from a base class, which is smart contract here. And of course, you will get all the basic feature. Now in this, we have some functions, and ultimately we are dealing with a number here. And one thing to remember, whenever you work with blockchain technology, in most of the blockchain technology, you have transactions and you have a permanent storage. And here as well, we have something similar to it. Not exactly same, we'll discuss that later how it works, but then we have a transactions and we have a persistent store. So basically, whenever you want to access the entire blockchain, we can do that with the help of contract. But then what if you have some private data? What if you want to store some data which is only related to a particular contract? In that case, you can put that in a store, right? So what we are doing here is, if you can go to this function or a method called change number, we are passing a number and then we are assigning that number to our storage. That's it. A simple stuff we are doing here, right? The only thing we are checking is if the number is negative. If the number is negative, we'll throw the exception. Now this is a very simple smart contract. We're just trying to change the number. That's it. I mean, you can do whatever you want. You can add two numbers. You can just store the data somewhere, or maybe you can transfer assets. We'll see that later. But as of now, we are focusing only on this particular smart contract, which is mentioned here. And then what we want to do here is we want to invoke this particular smart contract by passing a value. Now, how do we do it? For that, let me just go back to N3 again. And you can see we have our blockchain running. If your blockchain is not running, you can just right click here on your private blockchain and you can say start blockchain. But if you can see the wallets here, that means your blockchain is running. And once you have your contract deployed, once you have everything set up, it will show you an option here, which is invoke contract. Just click on that. And it will ask you where you want to do that. Don't do it on mainnet because we don't have actual currency, and don't test your code on mainnet. So let's use our private network here. And these are the options you get. So most of it are inbuilt smart contract. We don't want to focus on that. We want to focus on the smart contract which we created. I mean, given by the VS Code. But then this is interesting. You get a file here which is untitled neoinvoke.json. This is a file, interesting file. Let's explore how this file looks like. Now, where do we see this? So if you go back to your Explorer, you can see invoke files. And if you expand that, there's a file called untitled neoinvoke.json. Click on that. You can also see your JSON. Or you can see that we got interactive mode. You can actually click on switch. It will give you a JSON structure. But let's go back to let's go back here and then we'll again go back to JSON. Now, first of all, I don't like this name untitled. Let me just give a name to it. I will say first. Doesn't matter what name you give there. I will say first. And here, again, you got the option. Now, what we want to do, we want to invoke this particular method, which is change number. And how simple it can be. Just click on that. And you can see we got a contract name. This is a window you get. You got a contract name. Then it says, hey, what type of operation you want to perform? Because in one contract, you can have multiple actions. You can perform multiple operations. Okay, so I can say when you click on this, it will show you all the available methods. We want to focus on change number. And this change number will be expecting a positive integer or a positive number. So you can give any number here. Let me just give 5 if that works. Yeah, 5 should work. And we are passing a number which is 5 here. And that's it. We are calling this contract. Specifically, we are talking about this operation. We are passing a value, and then we just need to click on this one, which is run this step. Okay, now it will ask you for something. It will ask you for an account, from which account you want to invoke this. Of course, remember we have to pay a gas fee. So we'll click on Naveen. Naveen will be calling it. And as of now, let's skip to the witness as global. And done. We have submitted a transaction. For some time, it will show pending here on the right hand side. In some time, it will be confirmed. And now it's confirmed. Let's check what has happened. If you can see this properly, we are invoking this smart contract. And then notification says everything is good. There's a change in a state, and that's done. Everything is working. So basically, we submitted a value and it got assigned to a store. So in the storage, the number is stored, right? How do we see this in step by step? So what if you want to see this in step by step? We have another option. But before going to that option, I want to show you how it looks like in a JSON format. So we have invoked, and now if I click on switch, this is a JSON contract which is creates. So we got a contract, we got the operation, and we got a value, right? In fact, you know what's the fun part? If I go back there and if I click on the transaction, and if I click on so you can see we also see a value here. So basically it is sending the values as well, because that is stored in the JSON, right? But what if you want to see this in maybe a step-by-step format? You also have a debug option here. So you can click on debug step and you can mention who will be debugging it, and it will start the process. But you know, before we debug, normally what we do in programming is, first of all, what is debugging? Debugging will help you to remove bugs, and that's very important in the world of blockchain. So you have to debug the application, and if you want to start the debugging, you have to set the breakpoint from where you want to start the debugging process. So this is a point where I want to start debugging, right, from this particular curly bracket. So it's very simple. Just click on this bubble here, and now this is where you can start with debugging. But how will you do it? Go back to your JSON file. Can you see that option there? Debug this step. In fact, I will change this number so that we'll know something is changing here. So click on debug this step, and again the same thing. It will ask you for the person. This time we'll go with Kiran just for change. Okay, you can see that we got a checkpoint here, and now let's start with these steps. Okay, so we got step over. We are going on to the next field. Now it is not executing this part because the number is positive, so it is skipping that part. And now we are going for the next step, which is the contract. So you can run this step over and you can see the steps as well, and it will show you in the debug console as well when you do that. So one thing to remember, when you see this variable, you can see we have the variables available in that particular contract. You can also keep a watch on the variable, and you can do this all with the help of this debugging step. So I think we are done with this. Yeah, that's how you invoke a particular smart contract. And so that's our first journey, right? The part one of the basics. So we have talked about neo basics. We have talked about creating a smart contract. We have talked about invoking it, and done. That's our steps. So I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comment section and do subscribe for further videos. Bye-bye.